Welcome. It is Leah Ray Getz. And with me today is Karen Sarmento. Karen, we're excited to have you with us today. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself to our audience?
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to be here. So my name's Karen Sarmento. I am a nurse practitioner and mindset mentor for women. And I've been a nurse practitioner for about 18 plus years and started mentoring women additionally about 3 years ago after my personal development journey started, more like 8 years ago.
Awesome. That's wonderful. So talk to us about that a little bit further. Like when you talk about mindset mentoring, what does that really mean?
That means, so all too often we get this little inner knowing that maybe we're meant for more, or this little feeling that we're just not satisfied with where we are in life. We've got the degrees, we've got the job title, the marriage, even if we don't have the marriage anymore, or the relationship, but that inner knowing that there's something more. But then doubt creeps in, fear creeps in, and we start stacking the negatives why we couldn't have. And I think the mindset piece comes in when we start to recognize that you can do it, but it takes a little work on yourself, a little inner work.
Yeah, absolutely. So how did you end up deciding to become a mentor and to help ladies?
So I started doing that based on my own personal journey. So about 10 years ago, my son's father passed away very unexpectedly. And I didn't handle that in a way that I was proud of. So I was not showing up strong. I had turned to alcohol and just was not a great version of myself. So somebody said to me, what you don't fix in yourself, you pass along to your children. And to me, that was gut wrenching. So I started the inner work on myself. And the more I got to know myself and kind of come to terms with things and build myself up, self-worth issues, the more I started to do that, I started to see it in other women that they were not, that they were beating themselves up, or people were unsatisfied. And then I started to get that feeling like maybe I had a greater calling, or there was more to me than I was giving.
Yeah, I love that. So I was a registered nurse back in the day, and then got into this online coaching space and stuff years later. But so I see a lot of people in the medical world making this transition. So I think that's awesome. So like, walk us through, what are some of those key indicators or signs that it might be time to actually get some help, that this is something that would make more sense not to keep trying to fix or improve on your own, but that it makes help to actually get some, makes sense to get some help with it?
Yeah, I think mentorship and community is just key to staying accountable and the progress, just to keep moving forward. It's hard to go it alone because it's so easy to back away from looking at yourself, and then you feel alone. So you feel like you're the only one dealing with that. And I think mentorship or community, it's somebody paving the way. Somebody's walking the walk and they're kind of clearing the path. So along the way, when I tried to go it alone, I think there were mistakes. There was a lot of up and down, that's normal. But even in the business, as you probably know, without mentorship or guidance, there were a lot of mistakes. There was a lot of rework. There were some costly mistakes. And then in mentorship with mindset, it's so easy to look away because it's not easy to look inside and be accountable for where you're at. And I think that's such a huge piece.
Yeah, absolutely. What are some of your proudest moments or biggest successes that you've had with your clients?
It's that moment when another woman realizes her worth and she can actually see it in herself. Because I think as women, we see it in each other. Like, oh, look what she's doing. That's so cool. Well, she can do it. I could never do that. And so to see another woman realize that she can do it too, and to recognize her own self-worth, and then start to not make the past mistakes or things that didn't work out failures, but to make them stepping stones. So you actually kind of allow those things to be your superpower versus something that holds you back or something that disqualifies you from doing great things.
That's awesome. That's
Yeah.
wonderful. So what are some beginning steps for someone who recognizes that they need a little work, seeing the goodness in themselves, working on their mindset, their value? Walk us through what that looks like.
So I think just the decision or the awareness that, hey, maybe there's more, or maybe I do need to figure a few things out because I'm just not happy. So I think recognizing that. A nice place to start is journaling, because you can put some things on paper, get a few things out, and just kind of journal where you are, the things that come up when you think about doing greater things, some of the barriers, some of the things that might hold you back. And then I think putting down some goals is always helpful too on paper. But certainly mentorship or even community of some sort, other women that are doing the same thing, men, women that are doing the same thing or in the same boat as you. It's like that accountability and community is huge.
Absolutely. So when we talk about accountability, what do you need to stay accountable to? Like when you're on this journey of self-improvement, what are some of those steps that we need to be taking?
So being accountable, number one, to yourself. So making a decision, I'm going to start doing things differently. And most importantly, you have to be accountable to yourself, because you train yourself, your subconscious mind, that, hey, I keep my word to myself first. And then I think having a mentor, it just provides that extra layer of somebody that will hold you accountable to not allowing you to blame others, just walking you through, putting things down on paper. I think having a mentor, or even part of a mentorship that has a community, some Facebook groups that you can be part of, a community that are people that are kind of forward thinkers and looking to grow.
That's interesting. Okay, so what are some of the exercises that would help someone on this journey?
So I mentioned journaling. One thing that I think is huge is self-image. So we have a concept of ourselves, and it's usually pretty set in stone as we get later in life because of all the conditioning over the course of the years between family, of generations of family values and traditions and culture, media, everything. It's kind of been poured into us over the years. So I think one of the great places to start is your self-image, because really asking yourself, who do I need to be to accomplish those goals? And putting it on paper. How would she talk? How would she walk? How would she dress? And start showing up as that person. You really can't do that in an instant. Rewrite the script, rewrite the story. And when you start putting things on paper, it's a game changer. And you can have fun with it. You really can start showing up as that, somebody different.
Oh, that's awesome. So what does this look like from a practical perspective for folks as they've sort of started to make these changes? How is this really manifested in their lives?
Oh, so your inner thoughts really create the external results. So when you look at your outside world, the results tell the story of what's going on in your mind. So the more you start doing the inner work, your thoughts start to change, and being aware of what you're saying to yourself, what the inner dialogue is huge, because your inner dialogue is creating all around you. So your external world tells the story. And I think, what was the other part of the question?
Like just how this really manifests, what it shows up for as they're improving here.
So you start to actually attract other opportunities, people, experiences into your life, because when you start showing up differently, your external world reflects that. So you will start to attract higher level experiences, people that are vibrating at a higher level. Your circle may start to change. People that you once resonated with may start to kind of gradually fall off the grid because you're just not on the same vibrational level. And it happens very naturally. When you start to work on yourself, the outside world starts to change. So when you really start putting it on paper, who do I want to be? How do I want to show up as a mom, as a friend, as a daughter? For me, it was as a mom. And then down the road as a partner to somebody else. And I think when you work on yourself, you start to show up differently. So put it on paper, how you want to show up, what you want in your life, how you want it to look, what your goals are. When you put it on paper, it starts to take form.
Absolutely. So what would be one key piece of advice that you would want to leave with the audience with today?
To have a clear picture of exactly what you want your life to look like. Because when you get a clear picture of that, add some emotion to it. So when you get emotionally involved with your goals, they start to take form. And put it on paper. Put your thoughts on paper. And when it's things that are holding you back, write it down, because it's probably not true. When you write down what's holding you back, say, but the truth is, and really reconditioning your subconscious mind.
That's awesome. Love it. Love it so much. So I'm curious, how are you currently finding new folks to work with these days?
So a lot of it has been referral based. Most of my clients are people that have been in my circle. I've been a nurse practitioner for many, many years. So a lot that way. But then I think through social media, Facebook, and that's actually something I'm still kind of working on. I started my podcast about a month ago, and just another way to get the information and the different concepts out to other women. So that's awesome. That piece is still kind of moving parts and still a work in progress for sure.
Yeah, that's wonderful. So what are your next steps? Like, where do you want to grow from here?
So mostly I'm doing one-on-one now, but I've just started formulating a group program. So I think providing more of a community. I have a Facebook group for women, but I think a more formalized group coaching program. So I've started that, a 6-month program. And also a membership, which is a little more affordable for people, to entry-level stuff. So I think my vision is just to get the word out, make it accessible to all women, and through the podcast and through the community. I think
that's awesome. Yeah, I think all of that's wonderful. I love when folks are able to make that transition into group programs and things that are a bit more leverage, able to serve more people and to make a bigger impact, and also maintain more of a life balance, because one-on-one clients can get very challenging when you're loaded up on them.
It is.
Yeah. So I think that's great. The biggest challenge that people typically have when it comes to group programs is keeping them full and making sure you have enough traffic for that. So I think it's great that you're doing the podcast. Keep rolling with that. Make sure that you're putting a lot of effort into promoting and growing the podcast, because a lot of people are doing podcasts that aren't growing, and they're just kind of putting stuff out there and it doesn't serve you. So just make sure that you're putting effort into the growth of the podcast itself. And then potentially even looking at some paid traffic or some additional ways to reach people, because the podcast is awesome, but that's going to be a slow growth strategy. And so maybe getting some paid ads or something going a little sooner so that you can have more of an impact, in filling up your group program a little bit faster.
Yeah, that's such great advice. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. So if people want to learn more about you, where should they head?
So probably my website would be the greatest place, KarenSarmento.com. And I have a nice little self-image program too. That's I kind of offers a little starting place for people.
Yeah, and that's the freebie for the audience, correct?
Correct.
Yep. Awesome. So yeah, tell people a little bit more about how awesome that is.
Oh, it is. It's fun. It's I had mentioned the importance of self-image work, because we kind of hold ourselves at a certain level who we think we are, but it's not so much who we think we are, but who we think we're not. We can be anything and anybody that we want to be. We can show up powerfully and show up strong, confidently. So the freebie is really a little video walking you through all the different things you can do to work on your self-image and show up as the greatest version of yourself.
That's awesome. Love it. Love it. Love it. So this has been a great conversation. helping everyone really sort of reflect on who they're showing up as, how they're growing, how they're stepping into their future as a better person. So I appreciate so much, Karen.
Thank you so much for your time and all your tips. That's great. I love what
You're
you do.
wonderful. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll have the links to all of the things that we talked about in the show notes and description. If you found this helpful, make sure to like, subscribe, share it with someone who could benefit. And if you're curious about how to be featured in one of our podcasts, make sure to head to the show notes